Hey, welcome back to another Coach of the Month PIF Talk with Life Coach University. So if you're new to us, welcome. And I'll just open with telling you just a little bit about our Pay It Forward talks or PIF talks or PIF talks. You'll hear them called a lot of different things, but they are Pay It Forward. And basically that's one of the cornerstones of what we do here at Life Coach University is offer these great talks with a ton of wonderful, amazing coaches, all in different areas of expertise that come in throughout the month at various times and share that expertise with you. And all we ask in return is that you pay it forward with some act of kindness. So that's what today's talk is all about. The Pay It Forward talk for the Coach of the Month. Today is another topic in my Weight Loss Your Way bag. And it's one that I think will likely get the wheels turning just a little bit. So let me tell you a little bit about myself before I dive in, and I'll share a little about how I think about weight loss and kind of how I got here. So I am a life coach and integrative nutrition coach. And I discovered coaching personally. I experienced a personal transformation from coaching, and that's what got me to where I am today, to become a certified coach and work with women of all ages on learning how to lose weight their way, getting out of that diet culture stuff that says we're just not good enough the way we are, and that you have to follow these rules and weight loss is just hard. None of that's true. And weight loss can absolutely be achieved in a way that works for your life, for your unique needs. It works for your body. And you can do it in a way that's loving and kind to yourself instead of this punishing thing that diets just do to us. So I really spend a lot of time with my clients talking them through how to do just that, how to think of weight loss and dieting in an entirely different way. So the topic that I want to talk about today might even kind of push the envelope a little bit on that and help you think a little bit about the idea of a goal weight and like a timeline. Like I want to lose 50 pounds and I want to do it by, the end of the year, whatever it is. That's usually the first thing we do when we decide to go on a diet. We set a target weight, whatever that goal weight is, and we figure out how long it'll take to get us there. And then we get out the calculator and we start doing the math and we start to figure out, okay, well, if I want to lose 50 pounds in 6 months or whatever it is, I've got to lose this much every week. And then every week we get on the scale. And if we lost, great. If we didn't lose enough, or God forbid we gained, we start redoing the math and then putting this extra pressure on ourselves that now we've got to make up for it, make up for that little gain. And we're just constantly pushing to get to that number by that timeline. And I'd argue that that actually doesn't serve us at all. So here's what I mean. Let me just change my screen there so I can see my notes. Here we go. Okay. So you've set this goal weight, you've got this timeline, and you start pushing towards it, like I said. And sometimes we don't always make that number. And then we start to do this thing. This is where the self beatdown comes in. We start figuring out, what in the world did I do wrong? Why is this not working? And you start to think about these things like, oh, I never should have had that handful of chips on Wednesday. That for sure caused this problem today. Or you start thinking forward about all the ways you can restrict and make up for it. I'm going to eat a salad every day and I'm going to exercise every day this week. And then you weigh in and you still didn't do it. You still didn't make that magic number that you set. So you need to rework the whole thing again. And now you're under the gun even more. and it's more frantic and more frustrating. And then you start to beat yourself up. And then you just get to a point where you just can't take it anymore and you give up, you quit. And then a few weeks go by and you start the whole cycle again. And every time you do this, we just get a little more obsessive about food. We restrict a little bit more. Maybe the day before the weigh-in, you start doing these things like really restricting your eating, like almost starving yourself, because that scale just needs to go down. And because there's no way you're going to hit that goal at the pace that you're keeping. So we're always in this race against the clock. I repeated this scenario over and over again for years, and it's absolutely exhausting. You're always under pressure, and it just always feels hard. But it's no wonder when you think about all that we put ourselves through and all that frantic energy we live under, it's just no wonder it feels hard. But consider for just a moment not picking a goal weight or a timeline to achieve it. Just drop it all. Now, if we were all in a room together personally, I'm willing to bet I would have heard that collective gasp like, what do you mean? Not picking a goal weight? Not picking a timeline? That's usually the reaction I get from my clients. It's like, I'm sorry, what? How will I know how I'm doing or if I'm doing it right? How will I know if I'm eating too much or if I'm not? It's like sheer panic. Just like I ripped the rug right out from under them. Now, if you're feeling that, come back. It's okay. Let me explain a little bit. First, I'm all about having goals. They are important and they challenge us to grow and stretch. But when it comes to weight loss, I think we just need to have different goals. And here's why. Tracking our progress against only pounds lost encourages restriction, and it just amplifies the self-doubt that we probably came into it with. And that blocks us from making the kinds of changes that actually create real, sustainable weight loss. It keeps us wrapped up in obsessing about food and depriving ourselves of the food that we actually enjoy. And that makes it nearly impossible to access any kind of self love because no matter what you do, it's never enough. Now, second, there is a physical component to this. We have very little control over what the number on the scale is going to spit out. No matter how good you did that week, no matter how many times you went to the gym, there are just way too many variables that physically happen in our body to give us any kind of control over the number on the scale. So expecting to see a loss every single week is just simply not realistic. Weight loss is not linear. Our bodies are amazing machines. And on any given day, for any given reason, it could just be adjusting. Maybe you're coming down with a cold. You don't even feel it yet. And your body just decides, nope, I'm not wasting an ounce of energy on fat loss this week. I need it all to fight this cold. Or your body could be responding to some hormonal shift, or it decides to hang on to a little extra water. Or the most common reason of all, it senses that the diet is about to start, or the diet is kicking into full gear. And it knows from experience that it needs to hang on to everything it has because it's heading into a period of deprivation. Your body is really smart like that. And it's just like you've heard the term muscle memory. Your body remembers and it knows when you're moving into that for what it perceives to be starvation mode. So it hangs on to it all. So you know what? Even the weather can affect the gravitational pull on your body, which is actually all that scale is ever measuring. So for all of these reasons, and probably a million more, weight loss is just not linear. And expecting your body to perform every single week with pounds lost is absolutely setting yourself up for disappointment. So, what do? This is where those different goals I mentioned come into play. First, let's really shorten the timeline and focus on one day at a time. literally one day at a time. Yesterday's gone. Tomorrow's not here yet. So today is really all you have any control over anyway. So there's two little words that carried me through my entire weight loss journey. That they were today matters. When you can shift your thinking about your goals to just today, to one day, you all of a sudden have space. I know it sounds kind of counterintuitive. If you're only focusing on one day, how do you get more space? Well, you're not thinking so far down the road that it's causing you to slip into those really restrictive thoughts again. And one day is just so much easier to think about in terms of goals. So today matters. And then the other 3-word little phrase that I still use today, I still write this at the top of my journal every day. Today I can. And then I make a list of the things I know I can do today to be successful. And they're small little things, but they're very, very important. So it could be something like this. Today I can drink an extra glass of water. Today I can add an extra serving of vegetables into a meal somewhere. Today I can go to bed a little bit earlier and not get sucked into Netflix. Or today I can realistically plan what I want to eat. Or today I can make intentional decisions and actually do what I say I will do. Today I can show up for me. Those are just some examples of what today I can could look like. Real small, real little tiny things that on the surface may seem insignificant, but over time, wow, do they really add up? So remember that today matters. Excuse me. Now, these tiny daily goals, like I said, may seem kind of insignificant on the surface, but imagine stringing a whole bunch of them together, and you get something amazing when you do that. You get results. You start to build a little confidence, and that confidence is going to lead you to motivation. And what happens when you feel motivated? You start to get excited about what you're doing, and you get to go to bed proud of yourself, not beating yourself up, or worse, starving and feeling miserable in your body. You get to make better choices for yourself because you're not under the gun to produce a number on the scale. You have room now to make those different choices. You feel better, you have more energy, and you're learning to trust yourself while you lose weight. So today matters. I've written these words, like I said, at the top of my journal every single day for 4 years now. And it reminds me that I only have to focus on today, and I only have to make decisions about today. So doesn't that, when you feel a little freer and more doable than that frantic energy of, I've got to make this happen. It's just exhausting. This just gives you the space. You just take it one day at a time. So that's what I would challenge you to think about, maybe as you're heading into the next week, or when you have some time just to sit down and kind of digest some of this. Give this some thought and think about how it would feel if you weren't forcing yourself to track to this timeline and target weight, weekly weight loss, and how it would be different if you could just let yourself off that particular hook. What would be different if you just focused on today? That's where all the possibility lies. And then think about your process. How would your process be different if you started each day with that 3 little words, today I can? It's amazing what you can do when you're just focused on today. And I think when you're doing your today I can, here's just one piece of advice. Make sure there are things that you absolutely are certain you can do. Try not to let the diet brain slip back into those big, grand, sweeping changes that are just incredibly difficult to do in one big fell swoop. Keep them small, keep them really tiny, and be sure that you can achieve it, because it's not so much about the action. What's important is that at the end of the day, you have done what you said you will do. That's the connection your brain needs to make, that you do what you say you will do and you have your own back. That's where the power in all this is. It has less to do about the food on your plate or how often you go to the gym or any of that stuff. You're making that really strong connection in your brain that says, I have my back. I do what I say I'm going to do. That's where all the power in this lies. All right, let's see what we have for some questions. All right, we have someone watching that says, the thing that scares me about weight is that when I'm heavier, I'm in physical pain. My hip hurts, knees, ankles hurt. Yep, been there. I'm getting calluses now on my foot, and I think it's because of the weight gain. I do feel like I'm in a race because I don't want to be in physical pain anymore. Yeah, this is such a good one. So one of my reasons for choosing to lose weight, and it was the last thing that kind of led me to um, the coach that helped me and kind of got me on this path, was exactly what you described: physical pain. I know you can't tell sitting here, but I'm like all of 5'3". I'm not that tall. And I carried a lot of weight on my body when I was at my heaviest. And the same thing you described, physical pain. I would get out of bed and could barely walk in the morning because my hips were just so sore. My feet ached all the time. And I experienced some of the same things you described, calluses, that type of thing. And I desperately wanted to get out of pain. But the thing is, just generally speaking, we've all been conditioned to believe that there's a quick fix for this. And if you just follow the diet, you're going to feel better and you're going to make all this go away. And it's just not true. It's just not true. And if you do follow the diet, you do lose a little bit of weight. Maybe you lose it all. But if you do it without doing a lot of this work, the inner work, you're just going to be in a smaller body with the same problems. But in this case, when we're talking about physical pain, yes, getting the weight off your body is going to help that physical pain. I can tell you that from my own personal experience. But it does take time. It takes time. The amazing thing that happens when you go slow, you start to make these changes, it kind of spills over. It spills over into all other parts of your life, and it becomes less about the food. And you start to do other things that are really good for your body, like giving it the extra water and giving it the extra sleep. And I promise this happens. As you're doing this work, you start to release a little bit of weight. You're doing these other things that take care of your body. The physical pain starts to diminish, little bit at a time, little bit at a time. And you'll notice one day when you get up that, ooh, I'm not quite as stiff as I was. And oh, wow, I still feel the knee, but it's not quite as bad as it was. And maybe it's a fluke, but maybe not. And then the next morning, it just kind of compounds and it gets a little bit better and a little bit better. But try to resist the temptation to go all in on this big, crazy restrictive diet because it's promising some fast results. That's actually, I'm not a doctor, so I don't want you to take it this way. That's actually doing more harm than good to your body. And it might even be increasing the physical pain you're feeling because you won't be nourishing your body with the proper nutrients to give it what it needs to optimally work. So I'll give you just a real quick example. I have somebody I work with who was in a lot of physical pain and needed a joint replacement. And the pain was so intense that her brain just kept telling her, no, you've got to do this fast. You've got to get this weight off, or you can't have your operation and you'll always be in pain. And that kind of frantic energy just was not helping her. It was actually making the pain worse. And she eventually got to a point where she could kind of step back and say, okay, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to focus on what feels good in my body. And she did that. She did that for months. And she did start to feel better. She still had the pain in the joint that she needed to have replaced. But mentally and physically beyond that joint, she felt better. She was able to tune in and give her body what it needed so that she could be in the best possible physical shape to have her surgery and recover appropriately. So I know it's tempting, but try not to fall into that trap of quick and easy, fast, restrictive. It's not helping. It's probably making it even worse for you. So that was really a long-winded answer. So I apologize if I went a little long with that one. Let's see what other questions we have. Let's see. Okay, someone's asking, how often should I weigh? Good one. So this one, you're probably not going to like this answer either. It's up to you, but I will give you a recommendation. Weighing is optional, first of all. There's no rule anywhere that says you have to weigh yourself on a certain schedule. Now, again, we've been very conditioned to believe that the only measure of success is pounds lost. So, of course, we feel the need to jump on the scale. Now, I've worked with a lot of people and I've had peers in the weight loss program that I belong to, the coaching program that I belong to, that weigh every single day. Now, personally, I never subscribed to that. I never found any value in weighing every day because of all the things I mentioned before. Your body, there's too many variables. Your body's reacting and adjusting and changing all the time. And there could be a million things going on that could affect that number on the scale. And frankly, I didn't have the energy when I was going through this to get myself on the scale every day and then have to manage my mind around the number I saw, when in fact it was a number that I had very little control over. So I just chose not to. At one point, I was weighing weekly. That seemed to work for me. But now I'm kind of at a point where I know my body well enough where I don't necessarily need to get on a scale truly to know when I might have gained a pound or two, or if I've actually lost a little bit. I can kind of feel it in my body. And I can also feel when something isn't quite right. You know, when I start to, I don't know, we'll use that pain example. If my joints start to feel a little stiff, ooh, I need more water. Or if I just start to feel just uncomfortable in my body, in my seat, I need to move. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. But anyways, my point is over time, you'll learn to be able to sense these things and not need to get on the scale to see if you're successful. Now, some of the other ways, if you decide maybe you want to back away from the scale for now, that you can measure weight loss progress, always your clothes. How do your clothes feel? That was always a good one for me because truthfully, you can lose inches, lots and lots and lots of inches doing this process your way. And the number on the scale may not change that much. Sorry, I'm trying not to have a coughing fit in the middle of my talk. And so there's so many other ways. Your clothes, inches, and I strongly encourage everybody to focus on how you feel. That's the most important thing. All right, let me see if we have any final questions. Okay, yep, we do have a comment. So someone says, I am so ashamed of my body. I will make sure to only change behind closed doors. I don't even like to take my socks off because I don't like the look of my feet. Let me just first tell you, I totally understand. And this is a hard one because it's hard to be ashamed of the body you live in. I just want to acknowledge that and maybe give you a little hope that you can feel differently, but it will take some time. And it's a slow process to compared to what we've been conditioned to believe. Excuse me. Hmm. Um, Now I've lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. Hold on. But I get it. So yes, this is where I think you should focus your work. First of all, I just want to tell you there's no shame in being ashamed of your body. I think many of us experience that. It goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. This diet culture society that we live in has conditioned us to believe that there is a right size, a right body weight, and if we're anything other than that, there's something wrong with us. We're not good enough. And we've learned to be ashamed of ourselves, to be ashamed of our bodies. It's a learned behavior, which means, and that's good news, it can be unlearned. So, this is where that work that I talked about, meeting yourself where you are today. Sorry, I have a terrible tickle. Meeting yourself where you are today and doing things that you know that for sure you can do so that you can put your head on the pillow at night and be proud of how you showed up for yourself. That's how you work yourself out of this shame because everybody, I don't care what size your body is, deserves to be happy and deserves to feel like they are enough. It doesn't matter at all what your size is. You are a human being that deserves self love and the love of other people just because you're human. So please give this time, trust the process, give yourself what you need today. Because remember, today is the only thing you can control. Today matters. And little by little, you're going to start to build that self confidence, have a little more self esteem. And little by little, you're going to start to recognize what an amazing gift your body is, no matter what size it is. So thank you for sharing that. I know that's very vulnerable and I hope that was a little bit comforting. Um, let's see. Do you recommend having the clothes items as a goal to fit into? I've heard this helps. Ooh, yeah. Okay. I did. I had a pair of jeans that it's embarrassing. Okay, I'm heading for 54 years old. I lost about 100 pounds 4 years ago now. I had a pair of jeans from high school that I had in my closet, and I had a section in my closet. I referred to it as my I have a dream section. It was that section in my closet of clothes that I wore when I was much, much younger, before I had children, before my body changed. And they were my inspiration clothes. And for a long time, I actually thought that was helping me, but it wasn't. Kind of going back to this shame thing that I just talked about, I was telling myself having those things there were inspiration, but what they were really doing was creating this shame every time I opened my closet and saw them there. Like, oh my God, you're never going to get there. Would you look at that? Why do you think you could ever get into those things? You'll, by the time you do, you're going to be so old that you'll never be able to wear those clothes anywhere. I mean, I would tell myself this stuff every time I see them, and yet still trying to make the connection of inspiration. So I think it's a personal choice. I personally don't suggest it or recommend it, but I also want people to do what feels right for them. If it's truly creating inspiration and not shame, have at it. It's again, it goes back to this whole idea of weight loss your way. If that works for you, fantastic. On the same note, I think the just kind of a similar thing. I used to be just enthralled with before and after pictures. I would buy magazines just to read the success story articles. I'd follow accounts on the internet that showed these amazing before and after pictures, all under the guise of this is so inspiring to me. And what I realized as I started doing this inner work on myself and figuring out what it was about me that I didn't like and why, I started to realize that those before and after pictures were actually, again, another mechanism of self shame. I would look at those things, tell myself it's inspiring, but also tell myself that that'll never happen to you. You'll never get there. Why would you think you could even do that? Just terrible things I'd say to myself. So they were not the inspiration I tried to convince myself they were. In fact, I so deeply believe that now. I took my before and after pictures off my website. I don't want someone else to be triggered in the same way that I was and not even realize that's what's happening. So that's my point of view, I think, on the before and after pictures. But again, I still have to kind of hold to this. If it's truly inspiration, yeah, go ahead and have your genes or whatever it is that's inspiring you and helping. But before you make that decision, dig deep and make sure that's really what it is. All right, let's see. I think we have covered all the questions. All right, wonderful. Okay, well, that is a wrap then for today. So thank you all for joining. Thank you for watching the replay if you're on the replay. And if there is another question, perhaps from the replays or one that wasn't asked here today live, on the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, I have my email address, support@normafrahncoaching.com. That is always available to you for any questions that you have, even if you think of something days after you listen to a talk. My goal is to be sure anybody that's taken the time to listen or be here live or watch the replay can walk away with all their questions answered. So please reach out if there's something I can do for you. Don't forget to pay it forward. And I have to keep mentioning it because it's such an amazing thing. Head on over to the lifecoachuniversity.com, the website, look for 2023 Let's Coach and see what that's all about if you haven't found it already. It is an amazing offering this year. We have a group of coaches from all different walks of life, from all different parts of the globe that are offering their time. Every day of the week, there's someone available for you to come in and just be coached, whether it's live on the camera, whether you're asking questions in the Q&A box, or you're just learning and getting coaching by proxy. It's all available to you anytime you want it. The best part about it is it costs $20 one time $20 payment. Sound like the Ronco man. One time $20 payment will get you coaching for the entire year. And I said it in the beginning, my life was transformed by coaching, by receiving coaching. And that's why I became a coach. So I deeply believe in this. It is such a gift to give yourself or someone you love the opportunity to be coached, like I said, any day of the week, whenever you need it. So head on over, check that out, look at the schedule, and you'll find all the details there. All right, everyone, have a wonderful evening. And I will be back next week for another round of Weight Loss Your Way. All right, we'll talk with you soon. Bye.